Hi, welcome to the virtual orientation for the 242RL Super Lite by Starcraft. We're going to begin the orientation on the outside of the RV, and we're going to begin at the front. The first thing that we'll look at is the pass-through front storage compartment. There's a few things to make note of here. One, your light. We have your manual crank for your stabilization jacks. And then we have a pre-wired location for the head unit for your solar system here. So to monitor the solar system, we can install the head unit here. It's easier to do as they have the cutout marked, and the wires should be behind this location. Also in here we have a bit that you can use with your impact or a drill, preferably. That is what's recommended anyways, that you can use for the stabilization jacks as well. Also a neat little feature, if you look up, you have some access to the inside right beside your bed, or you can have access from the inside to inside the compartment here if you wish. So as we drop down here, we'll make note of a couple other things. One being the side marker light. The side marker light is pre-wired for a side view camera. Both side marker lights, door side and off door side, are pre-wired for this. It is a separate purchase that we'd be happy to talk to you about here if you have any questions. And also we have your stabilization jacks. They're located on the four corners of the RV and should be used to stabilize, never to level the RV. Once the RV is fully leveled, you would snug the stabilization jack up to the ground or up to your blocking to stop the side-to-side movement of the RV. As far as the blocking goes, I would recommend that you carry some blocking on you. I find 6x6s work the best. As we continue along the front, the RV will come to your battery storage area. And directly in front of the battery storage we have your dual 30-pound propane system connected with a crossover regulator. So what this crossover regulator will do, you can see at the moment the handle is pointed to this 30-pound bottle. When this 30-pound bottle drops below a predetermined amount of pressure, and that pressure is determined by the regulator and isn't adjustable, when this bottle drops below the predetermined amount of pressure, it will automatically cross over and draw from this bottle here. That means if you've got the furnace on a cooler night, you don't have to get out to switch the bottles over manually. It's definitely a great benefit. So we have in front of your double 30-pound bottles, we have your electric tongue jack. This has a light, helpful for hitching up at night, as well as the electric operation of the jack in either a retraction or extension. If we drop down here, we'll make note of your safety breakaway switch. The safety breakaway switch is connected to the tow vehicle via the loop end here, and to your RV via the pin here. In the event that your tow vehicle is separated from your RV, this pin will be pulled free of the housing, engaging the trailer brakes. It's always important to make sure this is connected properly. It's also worth noting that I have seen these pins partially pulled free of the housing before, engaging the trailer brakes but not fully removing it, so it was not obvious that it was engaged. So if you run into that problem, just make sure the pin is fully seated in the housing. Back to your electric tongue jack for a moment. You'll notice that there is this rubber stopper on the top. This can be removed, and the electric jack can be used manually via the crank that I showed you in the front storage compartment. It will work with the stabilization jacks and the electric tongue jack. So we'll continue to make our way along the outside of the RV. We'll come to the off-door side of your front pass-through storage compartment. You can find a couple things in here, one of which would be your spray hose. This can be utilized at a couple different locations around the RV, and I'll show you those in a little bit. Also in this compartment you will find the 30 amp power cord, and this is what you would use to plug into your campground or power at home. A lot of you do not have the 30 amp power outlet at home, and sometimes you get stuck at a campground that doesn't have a 30 amp site available. We provide you with a 15 amp conversion block that will be located inside the RV. And that 15 amp conversion block will allow you to use your power up the RV, and whether you're at home or at the campground. Certain features will not be able to be used. Most notably would be your air conditioner, as a 15 amp power supply isn't enough to power your AC. We also have at the front off-door side switching for your front running lights. As we continue to make our way along the outside here, we will make note of the output for your black and gray water tanks, as well as the valve handle positions for your black and gray water tanks. Continue along the outside till we come to the rear of the RV, and we'll notice that you have a docking station here. So we'll open that up. First thing I'll make note of is the little kickstand that is very helpful for keeping that door open when you're trying to make your connections. Now there is a diagram on the lid that will show you what everything does, but I'll go through it quickly here. So previously on the off-door side front pass-through storage compartment access, I showed you the spray hose. It has a quick connect end that can be used with the spray port here, and there is one more that I'll show you in a little bit. Also in this compartment we have a connection point right here. This serves as your city water connection. When the valve handle, this blue handle, is in this position, it serves as your city water connection. What that means is, with your garden hose attached and the tap turned on, whether at the campground or at your home, once you turn the tap on, it pressurizes the water system of the RV, so you can use it much like you would your water system at home. With the blue valve handle in this position, that will actually change the functioning of this connection point. What will happen with the valve handle in this position is it will now convert this to your tank flush, or sorry, tank fill. So what that will do is fill your freshwater tank. And why would you want to fill your freshwater tank? Well, if you're ever camping off-grid where there isn't a water supply, you would want to fill your freshwater tank before you went out. That way you could use the onboard water pump in conjunction with your freshwater tank to pressurize the water system of your RV, so you can use it much like you would your water at home. sometimes actually it is also useful, even when you are camping in a campground. Not all campgrounds have potable water, so sometimes I have people will note or prefer to fill their freshwater tanks so they have an onboard supply of fresh water. So also in this area we have the main connection point for your cable or satellite system, as well as your tank flush. In order to utilize the tank flush, please make sure that you are connected to the sewer system that you're dumping the tank into. Make sure you're fully connected. Make sure your black tank valve is fully open before you connect and turn on the water supply. Previously, I had mentioned the 30 amp power cord in the front storage compartment. This is the connection point for the power cord here, and then the other end would be connected either to the campground power supply or your home. So continue around the back of the RV, we'll make note of the ladder access to the roof, as well as the pre-wired housing for your rear view camera. Previously I talked about the side view cameras. The rear view camera works with the same system. It is an add-on that we would be happy to talk to you about here if you wish to purchase it. What it will allow you to do if you installed the whole system, you'd have 2 side view cameras and 1 rear view camera that can be monitored via a head unit that can be used inside the tow vehicle while in transit or stationary. And it'll allow you to see the rear of the vehicle and the sides of the vehicle while you're removing. Continue to make your way on the outside of the RV. We'll drop down at the rear corner here and just make note of the barbecue port or propane port with a quick connect here on the outside of the RV. This can be used with a barbecue system and is handy as it means you do not have to bring extra propane with you in order to cook outside if you wish to do so. There is a valve here, and currently it is in the closed position, and this would be the open position. As we make our way back to the door side, we have a handy extra storage compartment, and as I'd mentioned earlier, the second spray port right here. So you have one on either side of the RV, as well as speakers underneath your awning that can be used in conjunction with the stereo inside. You also note that there is lighting in the awning. We're almost done on the outside. We have a few more things to talk about. First thing I'll mention is the range hood vent. When in transit, it is a good idea to lock the vent here and here. See if you can see this. A little hard to see on camera, but there's a little tab here that you pop out in 2 locations here and here to allow the flapper to move for the range vent to operate properly. Also under your awning, we have a 120 volt power supply. You'll also find the outdoor access to your refrigerator. This outdoor access point also serves as venting, and it's important that it remains obstruction free for the refrigerator to operate properly. Directly beneath that, we have the outside access to your hot water tank. There's a couple important features on the outside portion of the hot water tank that's worth noting. We have your drain plug here and your pressure relief valve. when you remove, if you're ever going to drain the hot water tank or the water tank, before you remove the plug, always important to open the pressure relief valve. This will offload some of the built up pressure in the tank and prevent the drain plug from shooting out at you. Also, we have a reset for the tank in this location here. Well, that brings us full circle, and we'll head inside and take a look at what sort of features and interesting things that we can find. Right inside the door here, we'll drop down and take a look at your fire extinguisher. This fire extinguisher is important to have and important to know the location of. I like the location just inside the door. Makes it easy to access if you ever need it outside, or if you need to utilize it inside. As we stand up, just inside the door to the left here, we'll note that we have your indication panel. This indication panel will let you know the how charged your battery is, the level of your freshwater tank, black water, and gray water tanks. Also here we have switching for the onboard water pump, for your water heater on gas and electric. Now directly below that we have the controls for your awning and the main switches for the inside of the RV and your awning light. And lastly, we have the controls to extend or retract your slide out. If we go to our right, we'll head into the bedroom. Now you will note that this unit is equipped with a 4G gateway. It does not come activated, it is an extra, but it is wireless capable. While we're looking on this side, we'll note a couple of things. One being the TV mounting location, pre-marked on the wall, which is always handy if you choose to install a TV and mounting bracket inside the bedroom. Also, we have a 12 volt power connection point along with your 120 volt power and an output for the cable or satellite. So everything you need to view your TV is right here. Directly below that, we have your emergency exit. In order to utilize the emergency exit, push down on the black tab, push the red handle over and out, and you'll see it just pops right out. Once you have it perpendicular to the sidewall of the RV, push it totally out and free of the trailer. Once that is done, pull the red tab, remove the screen, and you can escape to safety. We'll make our way along the other side of the bed here. Now when we were outside in the pass-through storage compartment on the door side, I showed you this, so I just thought I would show you what it looked like from the inside. Another note to make, that there are USB charging ports and 120 volt power on either side of the bed, which is a very handy feature. Make our way into the bathroom. The main thing to note in the bathroom is the unit GFCI. If this GFCI is tripped, you'll see this red light come on. That would indicate that anything on the load side of the GFCI is not working. Some symptoms of that would be the plug on the outside of the RV not working, any plugs in the counter in the kitchen, your water not working. That would indicate that possibly your GFCI has been tripped. If it has, you can come back in here, press the reset, and see if that fixes your problem. Let's make our way into the main portion of the RV. And as we come in, we'll note a couple of things. First thing we'll talk about is thermostat. The power button also serves as the mode or function button to change functions or modes. In order to turn the system on, you need to press and hold for a few seconds, 3 seconds, and then you can press the power button to cycle through the heat, the fan, AC, and then use the side buttons to turn the temperature up and down. To turn the system all the way off again, press and hold the power button for 3 seconds again. Since we're looking at the refrigerator, let's take a second to talk about it. It functions in 3 ways, or 2 modes, I guess. 3 modes, 2 ways, however you want to look at it. Basically, we have auto. So the 3 modes, we have auto mode, we have electric mode, and then we have gas mode. So if we leave it on gas mode for a minute, we'll talk about everything. When on auto mode, it will automatically choose between either gas or electricity. It's always going to choose electricity first if it's present. If there's no electricity present, then it will automatically switch over and try the propane. In gas only mode, obviously it's going to only use the propane system, and in electric only mode, it's only going to use electricity. Now, if you notice, that green light went to red. I don't have the propane on, that's why I left it on. What will happen is the fridge will try to light 3 times if it's unable to do so. There's a few different reasons why it may not be able to. Most common of which is lack of propane, either because of not enough pressure in the system yet, or air in the system, or maybe you just haven't turned the bottles on yet. So, I don't have the bottles on. It tried to light 3 times, was unable, comes out the red light. In this case, I would turn it off, go out front, make sure the bottles are all open. If they are, one tip that is always a good idea is to light the range burners first. It kind of bleeds a lot of the air out of the system, and it makes it easier to light the larger appliances, whether it's the furnace, water tank, or fridge. So you can try that. Then you can come back, turn this on, and it should light just fine. Turn that off. Alright, if we squat down here, I've already removed this panel. There's 2 red Robertson screws that hold it in place directly below the refrigerator. And what we'll find in here is the back portion of the hot water tank. A couple things that you want to make note of here. The 2 valves, one here and one here. What they do is act as a bypass. In the current position, they are both pointing in towards the tank. That means the water flow is in this direction towards the tank. So in this instance, the water is going to flow through the tank, which is good. That's what we want because we want to use the tank to camp. However, if we wish to winterize the RV, we don't need to pass antifreeze through the hot water tank. It can be drained like we talked about from the outside. So we don't want to fill it full of antifreeze, so we might as well just loop and bypass the water heater or the water tank. So if you switch both valve handles into this position, you can see the flow of water will be this way, and it will bypass the tank. Right, if we just slide on over to our right here, we have the load center or power center. You'll see that it has a good diagram to indicate what circuits are what. And you will also find some breakers, much like you'd see in your house, and they function pretty much the same, as well as some fuses, like you might see in your vehicle. You will also note here that if one of these fuses or circuits are not behaving properly, that there will be a red LED light that lights up along the side. Directly beside the load center, you will see the carbon monoxide propane gas alarm or detector. At the moment you see that solid green light, that indicates that the system is ready to go and functioning properly. It's a good idea to test the system every so often. When you do so, you do it by pressing the button that is just above the green light. Once you press the button, you'll hear a series of loud beeps. The light will go from green to red, and once it's done making noise and flashing the lights at you, it should go back to look the way it does now with the solid green light. It is worth noting that there are other things that set this off other than carbon monoxide and propane, or I should say other than what you would like to set it off, which would be paint would be the number one thing. The fumes from the paint can and very much will set the alarm off. All right, now directly above all that, we have your oven and cooktop. Now you'll notice the first thing I did when I came over is I opened the cooktop up. Always make sure you fully open the glass before you use the cooktop or stove. It can get hot, and the heat, I mean, even when just using the stove, it can get hot up here, and I'd hate to see the glass shatter. But especially if you're lighting one of these top burners, you absolutely have to move the glass or it will shatter. Also, just a reminder, before you travel, put the glass down. I'd hate to see it flop down on you while you're driving and smash all over the place. So in order to light these burners, we turn them to the light position as such, and then turn the sparking knob. You do the same thing for all three, the only difference being the oven control. So of course, always make sure you have the appliance open when you go to light it. Turn it to the light position, same as you do these. The difference, press and hold the knob in while you turn the sparking knob. Take a second to talk about your TV and stereo systems here. You will note that this connection point is labeled for satellite and cable. So just make sure that depending on the application you're using it for, that you have it plugged into the correct location. Now directly below the television, we have your stereo here. The stereo comes with HDMI connectivity, an auxiliary connection point, as well as Bluetooth and a USB charging port. Now previously I mentioned that you could listen to the stereo on the speakers outside under your awning, and this is how you do so. You can see that there are two zones, Zone 1 and Zone 2. Zone 1 would be the speakers inside the RV, and Zone 2 would be the speakers outside. As we take a minute, underneath your sink here, we're going to come take a look at your water pump. As you can see, there's a water pump inside here. Now, not all of them have this, not here anyways. If there is something wrong with your pump, more so that it does not turn on whatsoever, there is a fuse and fuse holder here. So check that. That would be a good place to start. Otherwise, there's a couple valves in here that, in order to switch the pump from winterizing to grabbing water from the freshwater tank. We had mentioned before that if with your freshwater tank full, you could use the onboard water pump in order to pressurize the water system. Well, this is it. So in this current position with this valve handle like that and this valve handle like that, your pump is set up to draw water from your freshwater tank. If you change the valve positions from the way they are, it will switch it to a winterization mode, which basically just allows you to draw water from an antifreeze jug in order to run antifreeze through all your water lines and make sure that you are ready for the winter. I want to take a second to talk about the AC unit here. Obviously, we mentioned you work it with the thermostat over there. I just want to note that with these baffles here, at the moment they're closed, and that will force the majority of the cool air to these ports located throughout the RV. However, if you wish to have the majority of the cold air fall right here, maybe you're cooking here, then you would open these baffles and the majority of the air would fall into the main living area of the RV. Last thing I want to talk about before we say goodbye here is your smoke detector. Now the general rule, at least where I'm from, is to change the batteries in the functioning of your smoke detector daylight savings time, or at least when we change the clocks forward or back. So every 6 months. That way you always know that your smoke detector is functioning, you and your family are safe. And if you also press the button on the front, like I told you earlier, you can test your propane detection system and your carbon monoxide detection system and ensure that you're fully protected at all times. That sums up the virtual orientation for the Starcraft Super Lite. Thank you.